Hi there, this is Danny with End Time Country Living, and on this video I want to show you guys how I am getting my dry field corn dry. And so there's some tips for that, some struggles I've been struggling with, and some solutions I found. That's coming up. So about a week and a half ago I got my field corn all harvested and needed to I put that into some milk crates with lots of holes in there. They have lots of, they're made out of slats, so there lots of air movement, and that's important because the cob and the kernels can tend to mold very easily, especially the cob they're on. And so that's a problem. If you get a bunch of mold in there, it's not good to be eating that. You'd have to wash it off and re-dry it or something like that. It's a lot of work, so I'm working very hard to make sure it doesn't get moldy. And so found some solutions to getting that dry very quickly. And so putting a fan on it initially was working fairly well, but having that fan go all the time for over a week was not a good use of electricity, so I'm trying to get it dried down a lot faster. And since we still have good weather, which is a blessing here, we usually don't have good weather this time. It's usually cold and rainy this time of year. And so making use of the sunshine while we still have it and the low humidity. And so I've been looking at, I have a new app here from Kestrel that I've been using on my phone. That basically is locations fairly nearby. You can also just use like Yahoo Weather app. That works fairly well to kind of check the humidity. We have fairly high humidity here at night, like 80%, which is a bit high to be putting the corn out and letting it absorb that moisture. I don't want to be leaving it out overnight, so that means I need to bring it all in during the nighttime, and also keeps the mice and other creatures that may be crawling around at night feeding on it and hauling it off. So protecting it from that as well. So I'm putting it out. So right now it is about 10:50 a.m. And I checked the humidity out, and it's at 51% right now, which is sufficient for setting it out in the sun to get it dry. Maybe could have done it an hour ago. Had other jobs I needed to get done, so sometimes I don't always get it out as quickly in the morning as maybe I could, but doing the best I can to get it out as quick as possible. So anyway, that's something to check, is your humidity. In the evening I've been pulling it in about sundown, coming out here a little bit after sundown. The humidity is still fairly low, and pulling it in. And so I'm going to kind of show you how I'm doing that. So I have these sheets of plywood. I've been putting it on here. It's a good way to keep it clean and off the ground. Trying to quickly get it spread out here. Don't have to be meticulous about lining them all up or anything, just so they got good airflow around them. Don't want a bunch of stacked on top of each other. Something about like that. Okay, that done. Then, oops, get these off my net here. Okay, so then I have a piece of tulle here, insect knitting. It's not originally designed from that, from the fabric store. Bought this off of eBay. It's the darker the better. The white stuff breaks down within a year or so being out in the sun. So I got the darkest I could. The black is like twice as expensive. So I was trying to keep the cost down. So I got the brown. And so that's my compromise. I'm hoping this lasts longer than the white. The pigments in there will protect it from the sun, but this is double layered, not that it needs to be. It's just quite a wide piece, so double works about well for this. I think this is 4 foot, maybe like 3. Let's measure it here. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's like a little over 3 feet. Wide plywood, but you could use 4 foot if you wanted to. You just have to open up the netting a little bit better, but this protects it from the jays. Had some jays coming down, scrub jays. They were helping themselves, so I have a few cobs that have been removed all the kernels out of there. They were very efficient at doing that, so learned my lesson here. But it's, I've done this maybe for 3-4 days now, and it's getting quite dry. It's doing a good job of getting it dry. So I want to speed up the process, get it done so I don't have to have these crates of corn sitting in my house for so long. Get this shelled and get into 5-gallon buckets and stacked up out of the way, not have to worry about it. But before I do that, even though it may be dry enough to shell without damaging the kernels, it might mold in the buckets, and so I want to make sure it's completely dry. Here's one that the birds were getting into, so that's why I got smart after a couple days of a couple cobs appearing that got the kernels pecked off. Squirrels maybe have gotten into it as well. I'm not sure exactly. All the creatures. I did see the scrub jay jumping down from the fruit tree over here and helping himself or herself, as the case may be. So this netting took care of it. So I haven't had any more issues with the birds getting in here. Just tacking it underneath the edges. Something real simple that's fast. I don't have a bunch of time to fiddle with this. If I have to do this once a day or put it out once a day and take it in another same day. So anyway, very happy with a good crop this year. So that's kind of what the corn looks like. But that netting really helps to protect it. They can't get in there and peck the kernels off with that netting over the top. They never get it out. So even if they pecked it a couple times, they would get nothing there and stop. So anyway, that's what we got going so far. Seems to work fairly well, efficient as far as my time goes, and keeping the predators of my corn off. All right, so that is how I am getting my field corn dry this year. Some years you'd really have to bring it inside next to a wood stove. I've done that before, usually when I don't have so much, and so it's getting more and more of a challenge to get it dry when my quantity increases here. So I'm probably up to 30 pounds per crate, so 90 or so pounds, pushing 100 maybe. So that's quite a bit of corn to get dry, and so stacking it up next to a wood stove would be another good option. It's so warm right now, I don't want to be running my stove because it gets up to 75, 80 during the day here, so I don't want to be heating up the house if I can avoid it. So I'm using the sun, which is nice because I don't have to get the fire started. So setting it out there, getting it dry, and so field corn is a very good crop because unlike wheat or some of the other grains, Oats would be another one that you could grow as a grain. There's like millet or quinoa, things like that. They require a lot more work and a lot more fuss, especially with winnowing them out and getting the kernels off. There isn't really an easy way to do that without a lot of labor and time. And so trying to cut down on my time. Corn is very productive as well per acre. And so I'm able to get quite a lot of food value off of it, and it's easy to work with, easy to pick, and there's no, other than shucking it and then running it through a corn sheller, which is fairly fast. Probably within like 20 minutes I could get all this shelled. And so very time effective and high calorie. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. Something, a survival crop. Along with the beans that I grow with the corn together in the field. So if you hadn't heard, I am growing, so as I lay out my corn stalks, also interplanting dry beans. And so have a nice dry bean that I like, Rosso di Lucca, which is very nice. And so it's very productive, and so we go ahead and plant that out. And so we're out there currently getting those beans harvested still. Once I get the corn, it's easier to get the corn harvested. It cuts down on the bulk, but you can do either one, whichever. Sometimes we're out there harvesting the beans. If they get done earlier and they're already dry, we're out there harvesting them. But it was a little bit later this year, so we're out there getting them harvested now. And so anyway, that is kind of how we are dealing with our corn this year. I really recommend it. This particular variety matures in about 65 days. I think one of the earliest ripening or maturing varieties out there, and it has a lot of nutrition as well, and so something I'd recommend. But very good survival food, and just enjoy healthy corn, one that hasn't been refined, so you get the full whole grain. And so it's very hard to find whole grain corn in the store, or flour, that hasn't been stripped of majority of its nutrition. Anyway, God bless, and I will see you on the next video. If you like this video, is helpful to you, go ahead and give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I'll be appreciated. Okay, bye-bye.